to thank everybody for joining us this evening, and I want to thank everybody that has already purchased um, their copy of the book, and we'll make sure that we repost again so that the link for the book, um, for those of you that haven't gotten a chance to purchase yet and want to, you can we'll post the link afterwards. Again, thank you for joining us. And so here goes my introduction. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alāna. I am Dev's wife of almost 10 years, be 10 years next month. He is everything that was at the top of my list of what I wanted my husband to be. So everything that basically was not superficial. So like numbers 1 through 5. He's funny, a little corny at times, very intelligent, hardworking. He is a bit of a wordsmith. So he'll say something and he'll use some random word that nobody knows. I'm like, what does that mean? And so he'll explain. I'm like, oh, okay, new word. He is an amazing father. He is an amazing friend. He's an amazing husband. He's my best friend. He over there cheesing. He is absolutely amazing. This book is not Dev's. This is Dev's first book, but this is not his first piece of, what would you call it, literary work. He wrote a paper for a class that he was in called The Letter to the Beaten Slave. I think that's what it was called. Is that what it was? Letter to the Beaten Slave. If you ever get a chance, ask him to email it to you. He is, above all else, a child of the Most High God, a faithful servant, and I love him to bits and pieces. And without further ado, so I can get up out of this chair, Dev Beatty, author of Behind Enemy Lines, Blood in My Eyes.
Wow. I don't even know what to say behind that. I love you so much. Thank you.
I love you too.
She is amazing. She is truly amazing, and I'm truly blessed. Firstly, I want to just say thank you to everyone who showed up this evening. I want to thank everyone who has purchased the book already. Like, I'm truly humbled, and I'm really thankful for your support. God bless you. Thank you. I want to talk about how this book came to be. This book wasn't supposed to be a book, actually. The original book was supposed to be about my first marriage. It was a troubled marriage. It was 7 years of a bad relationship. It was bad. And the blessing that I got out of it was some beautiful children. And God saw fit to bless me with custody of my children. And that was a journey in and of itself. So that's what I was writing. And in order for me to tell that story, I needed to tell my backstory. I thought that I would give like maybe 3, maybe 4 chapters of the backstory to get to that story. And the more I started typing, like, it just grew legs, you know what I mean? And 3 chapters turned into 4, 4 turned into 5, 5 turned into 6. And I was just like, okay, all right, this this is going to have to be its own book because I'm nowhere close to being where I need to be in order to, get further along in the story. So that's how this book ended up coming to be. But this book is important, and this is the story that God wanted me to tell first, because this is how I actually came into a relationship with him. This is where I met Messiah Yeshua. This is where I met Christ. It's going through this right here. And so to talk a little bit about the book, it deals with my struggles with marijuana addiction, my past struggles with marijuana addiction, my past struggles with alcoholism, my past struggles with violence, stick-up kid, robberies, drug sales. We did a lot of stuff. And the graphic designer that I hired to do my book cover, she actually captured that. If you look at the skyline and you'll pay attention that these aren't city buildings. These are bullets and bottles and joints. And when you look at the skyline, you see the cross in the background. Is because this was my journey to go through all of this to make it here. And it was always there. Sometimes I just wasn't paying attention, didn't recognize it, but it was always there. And it was always above everything else, and that's just like our God. Like, he's always there, even when we don't recognize him. And even when we haven't found him yet, he chooses us. He chooses us. And when we wake up and realize that he's placed a calling on our lives, then we choose him back. And I'm thankful that he chose me. And so that's the science behind the book cover. The title, how the title came to be, Behind Enemy Lines, I was dealing with paranoia in a really, really bad way. And this actually came from one of my rap lines. For any of you that know me well, know that I used to be a hip hop MC. And one of my lines in one of my songs was, my dialogue is of Holy Scripture. My right and wrongs is the only picture I tend to draw when I hold the pencil. I'm so at war with my soldier mental. If I'm sitting within my mind, I'm behind enemy lines. Look into my eyes. And so it's because when we're at one with our thoughts, if you're not living right, and if you're not right, if you don't have a right relationship with God, when you're in your thoughts, it can be a very dangerous place to be. It can be a very dangerous place to be. And it was dangerous for me. So behind enemy lines, but also the environment that I put myself in, the situations that I placed myself in, could also be considered enemy lines. And so Behind Enemy Lines became the title of the book. And the blood in my eyes part actually came after I finished writing the book. And the blood in my eyes is attributed to the tears that I shed going through some of the stuff that I went through, the tears that I shed when I fell on my face and gave my life to the Lord. Christ, when he cried out to the Father, it was that real, that blood in my eyes, And so it can also be attributed to my past weed addiction. If for anybody that's ever smoked marijuana before or gotten high before, that, your eyes get low and they get red depending on how strong or how potent, what it was that you were smoking. And my eyes, that was a look for me. My eyes were low, my eyes were red. blood in my eyes. So it's a double or triple entendre. And so that's where the title of the book came about. There's a lot of chapters in this book that was hard for me to write. A lot of chapters I wrote with blurry eyes. The chapter that I'll be reading to you today, I won't read the full chapter, but I'll read an excerpt. And what I'll be reading today was one of those chapters. It was hard for me to write. I'm just thankful, man. I'm thankful that he pulled me out of the mud and gave me a second chance. I want to talk a little bit about the disclaimer. I have a disclaimer in the front of the book because I had to change names. When writing a book like this, you have to tread lightly and you have to be careful. And so I needed to change names. Some names stayed the same, like the names of my relatives who are deceased and are no longer with us. Those relatives, I kept their names the same. But for all of my relatives who are living, and all of my friends who are living, I changed their names. Even my friends who have passed on, I changed their names as well. But my family who passed on, I kept their names the same in this book. I even changed, like when I'm talking about the gangs and stuff, current gangs and gangs that that we know of right now. I changed those names. If you're from Saginaw, then you're familiar. You know what the Sunny is. You know what the Nutty is. For those of you who aren't from Saginaw and you don't know, I'm sorry, but you know what the Sunny is. You know what the Nutty is, and that sort of thing. But I changed those names. When it comes to the older gangs, the older generation gangs, like the 80s and stuff like that, I kept those names, like the Cliques and the Pony Crew and the Posse and gangs from that era, because those gangs don't exist anymore. They transcended into something else. And so, I thought it would be okay to use those names, but that's a slippery slope, and you have to be careful when you're dealing with things of that nature. And as far as some of the things that I talk about in this book, I'm 100% sure, based on conversations that I had with my brothers that I was running with at the time, that it was okay for me to talk about the things that I was talking about. Like, they're comfortable with me, disclosing information. Some stuff I can't write about, and that's just the nature of the beast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a little bit, an excerpt from the book, and I'll open the floor for questions, and you can just type your questions in, and I'll do my best to answer. I've never done a Zoom webinar before, so I'm not 100% sure on exactly how it works, but we'll see how it goes. The purpose of this book. The purpose of this book is so that anyone who's dealing with or have gone through any of the things that I have, the purpose of this book is to let them know that all hope is not lost, that there is hope, and that there is a way, and that God is real, and that he does deliver, and that he does save. And if he could pull me from the mud, if he can pull me from the trenches, he can do the same for you. And that's the purpose of the book. If I can bring one soul to God, or if I can get one person to strengthen their relationship with God, if the book can inspire that, then it's done what it was meant to do, what it was written to do. That's the purpose of the book. The language in the book is not coarse, but it is coarse. And what I mean by that is, I do my best to refrain from profane language. I don't always succeed. I'll be transparent. I don't always succeed at that, but I try really, really hard to keep my language on point. And in this book, because of where we were and how we spoke with one another, it's reflected in the book. So when it comes to the profane language, I didn't actually write out the word. I would write like maybe 1 or 2 letters from the word and then blanks throughout the rest of the word to kind of, insinuate what the word is without actually typing it out, if that makes sense. So there's the disclaimer as far as the language and as far as name changes. Certain events I had to kind of tweak a little bit. Some things I couldn't, divulge. Some things were a little too painful for other people as well. And so I had to be, mindful of that too, when certain friends had been killed or whatever, I had to be careful with, how I detailed certain things. So I slightly altered some things, and it was necessary. But those who know, they know. And so what I'll do now is read an excerpt from the book, and then I'll open the floor up for any questions. And again, I want to thank you all for being here this evening. I want to thank you all for purchasing the book. And I hope it's a good read for you. And most of all, I hope that it inspires and helps someone. So keep in mind, this particular chapter was hard for me to read. So I'm gonna do my best, or hard for me to write. So I'm gonna do my best with this chapter. This particular part in the book, I was really, really dealing with paranoia, like in a major way. Some of it might seem kind of funny. Some of the things I say may seem kind of funny, but it was really real. I was really going through this, and it was really something that affected me in a major way. And so I'll start and I'll read. By now, my marijuana addiction had me to where my paranoia had begun spiraling out of control. Everybody was a suspect in the wild and crazy schemes that I had cooked up in my mind. I had made myself believe that I was a dead man walking. Either the police or the feds were going to kick in my door and take me away to prison to spend the next 25 years. Or I would be murdered by a criminal organization from another city or state who has ties to some of the people I had run over in Lansing. I'm serious. I was as sure about it as inhaling and exhaling meant that I was breathing. Swift and Blaze, those were two of my buddies, or my cousin and one of my brothers. Swift and Blaze were really on my side because how they put up with my antics is beyond me. If I saw too many black cars driving in a row, it was the feds following me. If the plumber took too long at the neighbor's house next door, it was the FBI with surveillance on our house watching me. If we were hanging out with homies who had affiliations with gangster disciples or vice lords, they were reporting back to Chicago with a plan to kill me. Every new gangster rap song I listened to, even those made by some of my all-time favorite artists back then, was subliminally about me. They all wanted my head on a platter. They were going to have to work for it. I wasn't going to be an easy target. I made a promise to myself that if and when the day came for me to be arrested or murdered, I wasn't going to jail. The police were going to have to kill me. And if it was street beef that would take me out, I was taking at least one of my pursuers with me. I had my mind made up that I was going to shoot it out either way. It all came to a head one day at work. I had done some crazy things in my life, but this was different. Up to this point, I had been involved in gunplay. I had been involved in armed and unarmed robberies, assault, breaking and entering, as well as drug sales. I had purchased rifles and pistols at school, sold pistols at school, cooked up a kidnapping plot with Blaze, where we went to a man's house with duct tape, rope, and a machete. We intended to break in, tie him up, and torture him because he caught Blaze sleeping with his girlfriend at her brother's house. Pulled the knife on him and called him a nigger. That whole story in and of itself is crazy, but he found out that we knew where he lived, and 3 days after that incident, we were at his house getting ready to do something I'm sure we would have regretted for the rest of our lives, only to realize his house was empty. Within a couple of days of learning that we knew where he lived, he moved out. That was wild stuff for sure. But this particular day at work was my breaking point. I don't know why I smoked the blunt. When I wasn't high, I wasn't as paranoid. I was paranoid regardless, but I was much more reasonable when I was sober. I reasoned that I would be fine if I smoked just half a blunt before going in to work, as if I'd only be half high or something. So I sparked up and jumped in the car. I smoked half of the blunt and put it out in the ashtray where I left it. I pulled into Chi-Chi's and walked in through the back door as usual. Blaze was on the dish tank. I can't remember if Swift was working that day or not. He was a busboy. If he wasn't there that day, he definitely heard about what happened. I worked in the kitchen on the appetizers and desserts. There were 3 food stations where customers' food was prepared. We referred to the 2 entree stations as line 1 and line 2. The appetizer station was located between lines 1 and 2, and there were usually 2 people preparing entrees on line 1, one person, me, making appetizers and desserts at the appetizer station, and up to 2 people on line 2, also handling entrees. All of us stood next to each other while working. Directly behind us was the grill and the cook. The cook kept an array of utensils, especially knives, near the grill to aid him in cooking food. I walked in, put on my apron, and washed my hands like I would do any other day. I put on my serving gloves and got in my spot. Keep in mind that I was high, and paranoia wasn't cutting me any slack. In my warped mind, my supervisor was a mobster who doubled as an informant for the FBI. All paranoia aside, that's exactly what he looked like. It was the wrong day for the 2 line 1 guys to be having a private conversation next to me. They were speaking too low for me to know what they were talking about. So that meant they didn't want me to hear it. And since they didn't want me to hear it, that meant they were discussing their plan to bust me. All of them were actually FBI agents pretending to be kitchen staff. And here they were discussing with each other how they were going to bust me and what they were busting me for. Today was the day. I remember the promise I made to myself that I wouldn't be taken alive and that I was going to shoot it out, except I didn't have a gun. I was at work. What to do. I looked back and forth as discreetly as I could as not to draw any more suspicion to myself. And there they were, 3 knives sitting next to the grill. I quickly grabbed 2 large steak knives in one hand and a butcher's knife in the other. I stepped back enough to give everybody plenty of space. Then I let all of them know that the games were over. I looked at the 2 servers on line 1 and the cook and calmly but sternly said, "Listen, this ish is over. I know about your mission, and today it's not happening. You've been plotting and plotting, but guess what? I've been plotting too." At this point, my volume had begun to increase, and I was growing more and more agitated. The first one of you to make any kind of move will be the first one to get stuck. On my life, I'll carve you the F up, I warned. Blaze looked over in disbelief. Or maybe it wasn't disbelief more than it was, I knew this was coming sooner or later. Nobody else had witnessed this brewing. They didn't know me like that. But Blaze and Swift were around me daily, so Blaze knew that I was serious. He knew I 100% believed in what I was saying and what I was ready to do. "He ain't joking, man. Just back away from him and leave him alone. He'll stab you," Blaze warned. Someone yelled the supervisor's name, and I steadied my grip on my blades. He was the main one, the big dog. If anybody was going to try something, it was going to be him, I figured. As soon as he came out of his office, I was on him. "Don't take another step. I'll plug you, man. I know you the ringleader of this ish, and I'm not going to jail. If any of you MFers try to take me down, you'll be leaking today." I hadn't been so serious about anything ever. If I were going down, someone was dying that day. My supervisor put his hands up and slowly began to back away when I stopped him. "Be still, MF. Don't take another effing step," I yelled, bracing myself to stab him if he moved again. He froze in his tracks. "Dev, listen, man. You don't have to do this, okay? You don't. I don't know what's going on with you today or what you're on, but you're a good worker, and nobody wants to do anything to you, man. I need you to go home, okay? Don't worry about working today. Just go home and get you some rest, please." He was so calm and seemed so sincere. Still, I didn't trust him. But if this was just a trick, My plan wasn't going to change either way. I was willing to die that day and bring somebody with me. If it wasn't a trick and he was giving me a little more time, fine. That meant I didn't have to die that day. So I started walking backwards toward the back door, keeping every single person in my sights. I still had the knives in my hand. I got to the back door and dropped 2 of the blades at my feet. I reached into the pocket of my jacket hanging on the hook and grabbed my keys first before taking the jacket off the hook and draping it over my arm. I opened the back door by pressing my back against the push bar, threw the lone butcher's knife down, and bolted to my car and jumped in and peeled out of the parking lot. I made it home and walked straight into my bedroom. I didn't speak to anyone. I didn't look at anyone. I couldn't even tell you if anyone was in the living room or not. I walked into the door halfway through the living room and made a sharp right into my bedroom where I closed and locked the door. My life is a mess, I thought to myself. It was such a true thought. My life was indeed a mess, and so was I. I couldn't see it then, but God had his hand on me every step of the way. Excuse me, sweating. I have been shot at on more than one occasion and had guns drawn on me and put in my face, yet I've never been shot. I've been face to face with a knife, life being threatened, yet never stabbed. I've been arrested and taken to jail, but never been to prison. I don't say that as though I couldn't be touched, and I don't say that as if I were too clever to be caught. I wasn't. I was doing a lot of the same stuff many others were doing. Things they have gotten killed for and have ended up in prison for. Some for the rest of their lives. There wasn't anything particularly special about me. It was all grace, favor, and mercy. God kept me. I believe it was during the times where I went to do robberies and something would go wrong, preventing me from being able to carry out my crime, or the times where I went to do a shooting or killing and ended up not doing it because I listened to reason or because circumstances prevented it, or the times where I would have been caught or killed. During those times, God was protecting me from me because I didn't care enough about myself to make proper choices for myself. The poor decisions that I did make, such as the marijuana abuse and the alcoholism and the various criminal activities that I did successfully commit, I ended up paying for in other ways, most notably my sanity. Still, God was with me. My mom and I may not have had the best relationship growing up, but she worked hard to improve her circumstances and take care of my baby brother and me. She wasn't a junkie or a prostitute. She was a good mother, and my dad didn't leave me hanging either. He taught me how to be a man. He was there for not only me, but also for my loved ones who needed a father figure in their lives. Many of the adversities where parental guidance is concerned that causes a lot of people to go the street route were adversities that I didn't have to deal with. So why did I go the way that I did? Why did I gravitate toward criminality and addiction? To put it plainly, some people are just wired that way. But nothing about you is too complicated for God to fix. It may have taken years of reprogramming for me to foster a new perspective and outlook on life, but by His grace, I've been set free. None of that is to say that if you've been shot or stabbed or incarcerated, or that if you had issues with parental guidance, that somehow He wasn't with you too. No. If you're reading this book right now, that's all the evidence you need. He's with you right now and has always been. You're still here. Through everything that you've been through, you're still here, which means He still has work for you. If you've realized it and have taken heed to His call on your life, God bless you. If you're processing and feeling that tug on your heart but are too afraid of the change for fear of missing out on the enjoyment of certain activities, let me tell you, there's no better place to be than with Him. You won't miss the other stuff. When you let go and accept that you've been chosen, your desires will change, and you'll find yourself becoming repulsed by many of the not so healthy things that used to really get you going. You may find yourself still gravitating towards some things, but remember that you'll be a work in progress and that you'll be working from forgiveness and not for it. He'll take care of it if you let Him. After having just readied myself to stab any of my coworkers or my supervisor, my ride home had me thinking about how I could have been murdered in Saginaw or sent to prison for a litany of things, but no. or how he softened my heart and didn't allow me to kill Valerian in the laundry room, or Ivory in Pebble Creek, or how he kept me from dying when I tried to rob the weed man in East Lansing while his comrade ran to the back of the house to get the gun, how he kept me from robbing an innocent man and putting him in his trunk, police just on the opposite side of the tracks, how he made it impossible for me to tie up and torture a man with a machete for feeling disrespected. There were so many things between he and I that I won't write about. Where will you find a young black man in the kitchen of a restaurant holding knives in each hand, threatening to stab everyone in the kitchen and simply being allowed to go home? No police call, no charges filed. I didn't even lose that job behind that situation. I actually ended up quitting about a month later over something completely unrelated. Nobody can convince me that God isn't real. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to leave it right there. And I'm going to open it up for questions. So I'm going to try to get through as many questions as I can. And just type them in the chat, and I'll try to answer. Nan asked, where can I order the book? I asked but did not find out. I will post a link to the book. As a matter of fact, let me copy and paste the link to the book. I'll do that now. Let me copy. Uh-oh. And remember, I'm new to this, y'all, so bear with me. Okay. So there's the link to the book. I hope that you all can see it. Thank you, cuz. My cousin Breezy said that she's proud of me, and I'm thankful for that. Let me see. All right, let me get to these questions. Yes, the love. I love it. You're doing a great job. Looking clean, brother. Thank you, little bro. I appreciate you, man. Looking sharp there. Thank you, Christy. Love the outfit. Thank you, Dr. Woody. So proud of you, brother. Looking sharp there. Thank you, Yanni. I really appreciate it. Amen. That's deep. Yes, I'm excited for you. I love you. So excited. Who is Beatty Girl? Is that you? Who is Beatty Girl? Beatty Girl, that might be one of my sisters. Well, I love you too, Beatty Girl. Especially being a Beatty Girl. All right, let's see. Can't wait to read it, Deb. Amazing. It's so inspiring. Thank you, Lexi. Yes, Lord Jesus. Amen. Amen. And hallelujah. Deb, you write really well. Thank you, Pastor Lynn. What is the next book about, and when will it be available? So the next book is about my troubled first marriage and the blessing in being able to receive custody of my children. That's what this book was originally supposed to be. And I don't want to put a date on that because it's still in the works. I have yet to get, I'm about to get started on that right now, actually. So I don't want to put a date on it just yet because I don't want to put myself in a box. So, but it's coming soon. It'll be soon. Pastor Lynn says, you've been through a lot. What would you say to mothers who have children where you were? How can we help our sons? I think that it may sound cliche, but the absolute best thing that you can do is pray for your sons. I had a praying mother. And I had praying grandparents, and the prayers of the righteous availeth much. And those prayers is ultimately what saved my life, because my mom had the talks with me, and I knew right from wrong, and I had a good upbringing. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff, I had all of that stuff, but I still went the way that I went. And as a young child, I was taught about God, and the word says to raise a child up in the way that you will have them go, that when they grow old, they won't depart from it. And, you may go your way, but as long as you have those prayer warriors in your corner and you have those core values to fall back on, That's the absolute best thing that a mom can do to help her son. Because, I even mentioned in the book, that at that particular time, the tug of war between my mom's prayers and the streets, it felt like the streets was winning. That's where I wanted to be, and that's what I wanted to do. And regardless of the things that I saw happening around me and the things that I was directly involved in, that's where I wanted to be until God showed me otherwise. So it's those prayers. How long did it take to complete Behind Enemy Lines from beginning to end? My cousin Breezy asked. I started writing it, last year? Mm-hmm. I started writing it last year. So from beginning to end, I'll say it took me maybe a year and a few months. But also I wasn't consistent when I first started writing it. Like, I would go on a tangent and just go, and then I wouldn't write for like a couple months. And then COVID happened and I was stuck in the house and didn't have anything else to do. So boom, a book happened. So proud of you. Thank you, Dr. Neighbors. Dr. Neighbors is like one of the most awesome people that I know.
Mom.
Yeah, my unofficial godmom. Love her so much. Beatty Girl says, I'm so proud of you too. Pa is proud of you as well. Oh, that's Tay Tay. Mm-hmm. That's Tay Tay. I love you too, sweetie. Crystal Lynch. Crystal says, I don't have a question, just a comment. I am so proud of you. The turmoil that you described felt so transparent and real. Thank you for sharing your testimony through this book. Not a problem at all, Crystal. I feel like it's my obligation, it's my duty to share that testimony. I feel like, God didn't pull me out of that for me to be quiet about it. If that can help someone else, then, I have to tell that. I have to talk about that because God is just amazing and I have to tell everybody. So, Yoga with Gabrielle, Gabby here. I love you. Love you too, sis. Congratulations, Deb. Thank you all, everybody. I'm excited for you, Deb. Looking forward to reading your book. Thank you. I'm looking forward to you guys reading it, and I hope that, like I say, I hope that it inspires and I hope that it helps someone. I really do. My daughter said, out here looking sharp. I had the screenshot. LOL. I'm ordering my book right now. Nana. Mm-hmm. Way to go, Deb. Looking forward to completing the read unless you're free to come to a private reading. Oh, Dr. V. I don't know about that one, Dr. V. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out a social distancing.
Yeah, I'm down for that. I'm proud of you. I have no questions. I just want to find out whatever I don't know. I love you and can't wait for the next half, even though I haven't read the first. That's from my baby brother, D-Lo. That's my dude right there, D-Lo. Dr. Gumber says, congratulations once again on the book. Cheers to you, to your hard work, and good luck with everything. Looking forward to reading it. Thank you all so much. Would you put our son, Kyle, on your prayer list? Absolutely. Absolutely. Positively. We'll most definitely put Kyle on the prayer list. Dr. Neighbor said, not sure if my name shows. This is Dr. Bonita. You have really blessed me today. Given the life you have lived, speak to young Black men in the context of the current protest. Amen. Amen. Like I said, I feel like it's my duty to do that. I don't feel like God gave me a second chance for me to do nothing with it. I have to do something. Christy said, can I get my book autographed? Of course. Of course. Absolutely. Thanks for being God's mouthpiece. Preach, brother. Dr. Shruti, how the conversations that we have, that's Dr. Shruti is my sister in Christ. And, I talk to her at work and we have deep discussions about the word. And I hope that I've inspired today. And I just want to. That's the whole goal, is to inspire, to inspire. Okay, I'm trying to find the questions. I appreciate all of the comments. I love you guys too, and I'm thankful for all of you and all of your support. So it looks like that is pretty much all of the questions that I see. Unless I'm just like, oh, do you go in detail how you found God and turned it around in the book? I do. I was actually about to get to that part when I stopped reading. So I do go into detail about how I found God. I was raised with I had parents that had knowledge of God, and they instilled that in me from a young age. So I knew He was there, and but I needed to see it in action for myself. And I was getting to that part where I actually, turned it over to Him. So let's see. Do you think that without your strong parental upbringing, you still would have made it through to find your path? I think so. I think that even without the strong parental upbringing, I would have still made it through because I was chosen. And see, that's the thing. Like, God chooses us first, and then He gives us nuggets to find Him. And if we're not paying close enough attention, we might miss it. But He makes Himself readily available for any of us. And whether I would have had a good upbringing parentally or not, because I was chosen, like, before He put me in my mom's womb, He had a work for me to do. He had an assignment for me before He even put me on this earth. So it was destined for me to, in whatever form I came to the earth in, whoever I came through, for me to find my way back to Him. So I honestly believe with every fiber of my being that I absolutely would have made it through to find my path, regardless of my upbringing. And I'm saying that to let anybody else know who may not have had a strong foundation or a good upbringing, that does not mean that you haven't been chosen. It doesn't mean that you haven't been chosen. It doesn't mean that you can't navigate and that you can't make it, because you can. Let's see. As you know, I worked with youth in detention facilities in the past. Have you ever thought to reach out to young men and tell your story? I have, and it's something that I've wanted to do. And right now, I've only had the opportunity to go once or twice, but at the church that I go to now, it's called the Gathering Church. There's a ministry. There's a ministry called Mankind, where we go in Detroit, and we have Bible studies with former addicts and those who are at risk. And that's been the two times that I was able to go. It was tremendous. It was amazing, and I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed sharing, just to let people know that there is hope. So that has always been something that I've been interested in doing ever since my cricket path was made straight. So, Dev, we can't wait to get our copies. You'll definitely have to sign it on Ortho Fridays. We miss you and are so proud to know you, Carissa, Raman, and Richie. I appreciate y'all, man. Dr. Carissa and Dr. Raman and Dr. Richie. Those are like some of the coolest residents that I've had the pleasure of working with. So it's awesome. I'm humbled. Tyrone says, "What do your kids think about the book? What questions did they ask, and how did you answer their questions?" That's a good question. My youngest my youngest kids, they can't read it yet. I won't let them read it yet because
Savannah has tried.
Yeah, Savannah wants to, Corey wants to, but they're a little too young, at this point to read, some of the stuff that's going on in this book. So I'll give them a few years to check that out. Jonas hasn't read it yet, and Morgan said he really likes it. They haven't asked me any questions yet, but they know I'm transparent, and I don't sugarcoat anything with them, and I don't hold anything back with them. I'm pretty open, so whatever they ask me, we'll sit down and we'll talk. But they haven't asked me anything about it yet. Dr. Woody said, can you expand a little on the fact that many of us are wired in a certain way? In addition to prayer, what else can we do to improve upon how we are wired? So, that's such a deep discussion, Dr. Woody. So we're all born, and this is my firm belief, that we're all born with a sin nature, and some of us just might be more prone than others to get into things. And I was just one of those people that I dared to be different, and I tended to rebel and do things my own way, whether good or bad. And I've been the type of person that wasn't much for authority. I did not like authoritative figures in my life. I wanted to be in control of my own destiny, so to speak. So, and that's part of the reason why I had a rocky relationship with my mom as I was growing up, because I had a really smart mouth, and I could be really disrespectful at times because I didn't like authority and I didn't like being governed. And so that's what I meant by I was wired that way. And I know I'm not the only one that's like that. One thing that we can do to improve how we're wired is to try to practice empathy and pay attention to other people's feelings. If we can pay attention to what other people are going through and try to put ourselves in the shoes of other people, that may help with our wiring. It may or may not cause you to make a different decision, but at the very least, it'll make you think about something that you may not have otherwise thought about. So, have you ever felt your children straying? If so, did your experience help in dealing with that? The answer is yes. I've had children that have indulged in certain activities that maybe they didn't think that I knew about, and because of where I've been and because of some of the things I did, I absolutely knew. And there would be times where my wife had a 100% different upbringing. Well, not upbringing, but her experiences were a lot different than mine on a street level. And so there would be times where I would notice certain things in some of my children, and I would tell her, and she wouldn't think that those things were going on. And I'm like, yo, this is what's happening. You know what I mean? Like, I know what I know. And she, wouldn't think it was going on until, she found out that, that's what was going on, And I would have my conversations with them and let them know what the outcome of those situations could be if they continue in that way. But at the end of the day, you can't live their lives for them. All you can do is give them the knowledge and the wisdom that God has given you, and pray and let him have them. Because what we can also do is get in his way. And that's the last thing we want to do. When we give it over to God, we have to learn how to let things go, because sometimes we want to hold on, or sometimes we want to give too much input and we want to do too much, and then we can actually end up causing more damage to the situation. So you stated that it was hard for some information to be shared. How did you overcome those hurdles, and has your story now become more easy to share? God bless you and your family. From former classmate Angela. I appreciate it, Angela. And God bless you too. No, for me, the stories that's hard to share are hard to share. You know what I mean? And I share them. Sometimes I don't want to say begrudgingly, but I just do it. Sometimes I may not want to, and I'll do it anyway because I feel like it's an obligation. I feel like God had taken me through some of those things so that I can be a help to. You never know what a person is going through, and they might need to hear that story, you know. And if I'm feeling selfish on that day, and I don't want to tell that story on that day, that might have been the day, and that might have been the time that the person would have heard that, and it would have taken them in a different direction, you know. So sometimes you have to just do it, even when in your flesh you don't want to, but it doesn't make it any easier. Um, so I hope that answered the question. Some things in the book I just simply couldn't talk about, you know, and we'll leave that where it is. But you know, I tried to divulge as much as I could, and I was as transparent as I possibly could be with that. From Pastor Lynn, Deb, you're well spoken, and we are so very proud of you. Looking forward to all that God has in store. Your wife and kids are pretty amazing too. Pastor Gerald and I love you. We love you guys too. We have the most amazing leadership at our church. Let me tell you. Amen. If you are in Michigan and you've never been to the Gathering Church, I need you to come to the Gathering Church. Shame on me for not having the address right in front of me right now. But we're in Farmington Hills. Mm-hmm. Farmington Hills. And
we'll post the link on both of our Facebook
I'll post the link on my Facebook page. Amazing church. Pure and simple is the motto of the church. And that's just what it is.
Serve.
Live, like love, Jesus. Serve.
Just like Jesus.
Just like Jesus. Yeah, it's an amazing church. You would absolutely love it. I guarantee it. Breezy says, did you let those who are in the book know they were going to be in it? Yeah, a few of them. Some of the people that, you know, I fell out of contact with. Some people that are in the book aren't with us anymore. But the ones that in the book that I was running with, that I was doing the most dirt with, they know. They definitely know. Hello, son. It's the authoritative figure here. That's my mom. Hello, authoritative figure. I love you and all your authority. So it's 8:01. I know we were gonna, leave it open to 8:15. I'm still open for any more questions. If there aren't any, I'll shut her down. But there's more in the Q&A. Okay, see, I didn't know about that. Let me see. Did you go into detail? Okay, I read that. How do you work? Okay, saw that. Did you have any other illustrations? Okay. Shantae asked, did you have any other illustrations beforehand for your cover, or was this the initial vision in your mind? So I didn't create this cover. I gave my graphic designer, I gave her complete control. And what she gave me back initially, I didn't like the cover because it didn't have the cross in the background. And that's the most important part of the story. So that needed to be that, like, something that symbolized me developing a relationship with Messiah Yeshua was absolutely necessary to be on the cover somewhere. And, for it to just be the joints as the smokestacks and the bullets and the bottles as the city buildings, you know what I mean? Like, that is the story, but it's more than that. It's deeper than that. And I needed that to be conveyed. And so, I let her know that I needed something in there to convey that, I was delivered from that. And she just simply put the cross in the background. And it it lit the whole cover on fire for me. And I was like, okay, that's it. I love it. And so that's what it was. That's what did it. So I guess that answered Yanni's question. She said, did you draw your own cover? The skyline with the different articles that represent parts of your life is so unique and personal. And that's just attributed to how awesome, her name is Florfy. I found her on Fiverr. So if any of you are writing, or if any of you are looking for a graphic designer, Florfy, Florfy. I don't know what that, if that's her, like her real name, or if it's just an abbreviation for something else, but she's an amazing graphic artist. And I gave her complete creative control, and that's what she came up with. So I did not design the cover. Mom said, I just want to tell you how much I love you and how proud we are. I love you too, Mom, and I thank you. I thank you for everything. You, man, I'm not gonna sit up here and cry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, please don't, because I can't. But
I thank you for those. I thank you for those prayers, and I thank you for everything that you did to ensure that I was raised correctly. Everything that you did for me, everything that you did for Lo. I thank you for your sacrifice. I love you. I love you, and God bless you. Thank you. Today is particularly special because today is my dad's birthday. And, as many of you know, he passed away in January. And this is the first time that, I've had a birthday without him, being present. So today is a particularly special day for me. And that's why I wanted to release the book officially on this day in honor of him. And so, there's that. I'm not finna cry. I just want to wipe my head with that napkin because I'm sweating bad. I appreciate it. So, right, it looks like that's all of the questions. And so it's 8:06. I know we were scheduled till 8:15, but it looks like we don't have any more questions. I really appreciate everybody for coming out, and I really appreciate all of the support. You guys are amazing. God bless you. I hope you enjoyed the book. I will definitely post the link to it on my Facebook page. I'll post it again in here. Let's see if that works. I'll post it there. Yeah. Sweating like dad ate Tabasco. That's real. It's hot in here. I got the air on. I don't understand. But so yeah, thank everybody for coming out. I really appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Yeah, I can't thank you enough. I hope you enjoy the book, and God bless you all. I'm gonna sign out. An awesome movie, possibly. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what God does, man. You never know. But all right, I'm out of here. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in.